After the general election, the process of recruiting new IEBC commissioners has sparked a fresh political row. With 6 vacancies in IEBC, focus has shifted to President William Ruto and the persons he will appoint to constitute the selection panel. That will, in fact, recruit new commissioners. With Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga opposing the IEBC Amendment Act 2022 that was assented to by the president, outlining the process of naming the 7-member selection panel, the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is calling for a truce and focus on the quality of persons to replace Wafula Chebukati and his team. Francis Gashuri tells us more.
On Monday, President William Ruto, with a stroke of the pen, initiated the process of recruiting new IEBC commissioners to take over from former chairman Wafula Chebukati and commissioners Boya Molu and Yakub Gulie, whose 6-year tenure lapsed, as well as former vice chairperson Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi and Justus Nyang'aya, who resigned to avoid facing the tribunal, chaired by appellate judge Agri Muchelule. Commissioner Irene Masiti is on suspension, waiting for the tribunal to determine her fate. The IEBC Amendment Act of 2022 outlines how the 7 slots in the selection panel will be shared out. The new law allocates 2 slots each to the Parliamentary Service Commission and the Interreligious Council, while the Public Service Commission, the Political Parties Liaison Committee, and the Law Society of Kenya will nominate 1 member each to the panel. A panel Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga considers skewed in the president's favor.
When a single player chooses majority of the referees, then really there is no need of participating in that game, because it is fait accompli. The game must be presided over by a fair team, selected fairly and to the satisfaction of all players.
Ukweli ni kwamba tuko na sheria, tuko na katiba na tuko na sheria. Ni sheria ifuatiliwe. Kutofautiana hiyo ni kawaida, na ni siasa, tutatofautiana, tutakuwa na different opinions, lakini at the end of the day the law must be followed so that we have a proper selection panel.
I know opposition is all up in arms and everywhere saying, you know, this should not have happened the way it is, but we are not going to be in a vacuum. So we must give a solution and we must give a cure to the current situation that was presented to us by the previous regime.
All eyes now on the president to name the selection panel that will in return recruit new IEBC commissioners who will be appointed subject to parliamentary approval. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee will be tasked with vetting the proposed commissioners and submitting a report to the House plenary for approval, rejection or amendment.
So roho yetu sisi si kwa selection panel na si kwa interviews, itakuwa kwa vetting when the time comes.
We're not going to be swayed by partisan, considerations in this. We have a duty to protect the country. So we'll do the best we can.
If it was my wish as an elected member of parliament, I would have wished we went the IPPG way. Why? You know, the IPPG way, you have political parties identifying who sits in those panels. And the good thing is, each of the main political parties or formations will feel like we have now our representation. And you kind of feeling that I have my representation in this process and then say the process was unfair.
Other than managing the 2027 general election, the new IEBC commissioners will also oversee the emotive boundaries delimitation exercise that, according to Article 89 of the Constitution, must be reviewed at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. The last review report was handed to the then President Mwai Kibaki in November 2010. Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV.